Welcome to the Productpreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Nicoles, product development and marketing coach and mom of 3. Learn from and get inspired by women entrepreneurs killing it in the product space. Each episode, we will share the latest trends, proven strategies, and inside secrets of the product world, all designed to give you greater confidence to create your own success through a product venture. Let's do this. Welcome to the Productpreneur Podcast. If you've wondered how to rank better on Google search without even paying a dime on ads, this episode is for you. Today we hear from an SEO expert who's going to tell his secrets to building strong SEO. Now before we get into the episode, let's hear a listener review. This is from Adrian Bake, one of the greatest podcasts for entrepreneurs out there. I absolutely love listening to Nicole. Each episode brings unique and new and engaging content that is both fun and helpful to listen for entrepreneurs. Thank you so much, Adrian. I'm so grateful that you love the show. Guys, reviews like this mean so much to getting the show found and bringing even more valuable content to you. If you love the show, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts, and I'd be happy to give you a shout out. If you're loving these episodes and you want to get more discussion on these topics, head on over to my new Facebook group, the Productpreneur Community. Go to the link in the show notes or search for the Productpreneur Community on Facebook. I'd love to see you on the inside. Now for today's guest. I'm excited for this conversation about SEO. John Vuong is the owner of Local SEO Search, a boutique agency from Toronto. He helps small and medium-sized businesses rank on Google for keywords that their customers are searching for. We talk about what SEO is, why SEO is critical for your business, how to improve your SEO, the importance of content, and more. Now let's dive in. So excited to welcome John to the podcast. SEO is a mystery to a lot of people, so he's going to help solve some of those questions and problems that we've all been having with SEO. So welcome, John.
Well, thanks a lot for having me, Nicole. I'm excited to share some valuable insights regarding SEO to your audience members today.
Oh, I'm so excited for this. All right, first off, can you tell us where you started off and how did you get into helping different businesses with their SEO?
Yeah, so this all started back in 2013. That's when I formed this and founded this company called Local SEO Search. But prior to that, I actually worked in traditional advertising sales and online affiliate advertising sales for 10 years. And so I was actually a sales professional and I sold ads to businesses. And I actually worked at a company, and I'm sure you've probably heard of it, Yellow Pages.
Oh, yes,
And
yes.
I was there for 5 years, actually. I learned a lot about how to position sales and what business owners ultimately wanted in terms of creating that sales experience relationship, but also delivering on ROI. And what ultimately mattered for them was for them to feel that they were getting some sort of lift from leads, which is more about the phone call, email, form inquiries, feeling that they're seeing some new prospects come in the door. However, at the end of my tenure at Yellow Pages, there was a user behavior shift. Consumers were moving to more digital platforms. And with that in mind, a lot of my customers were just frustrated. They were getting less and less value. They were spending more than ever, but getting less leads coming in. And they knew there were other options. There were other people searching and finding them at different venues and avenues. So I knew myself, I was gravitating towards Google. And that's what I knew. If I was, say, the average consumer, most people might be going on Google. And there's other platforms, of course, social media, there's email, there's digital ads. But I really focused on Google organic because that's how I searched. And that's the reason I started. So I didn't have any technical background. I didn't know anything about how to rank. I just knew there was a need in the marketplace and there was an opportunity for business owners to find a company or person or freelancer to really help them move along to become more digitally optimized and have a visible presence on search. And that's what I did, filled the gap in the marketplace, and I formed an agency. That way.
Wow. I love that. So you really actually didn't know how to figure out SEO at the time, right? You just knew there was a gap. And so how did you learn the whole magic of SEO?
Yeah, so it's not as easy as everyone thinks. There's a lot of reading, ingesting. So I'm a big believer of growing and learning, and I'm ultra curious, right? So for me, it was about understanding, like even when I was in sales, I knew I had to get better. I had to improve. So I came in earlier than everyone. I left later than everyone. I was always listening to audio tapes because there was no videos back then. I was reading, consuming, books and going to conferences and learning from the best, right? So harvesting that work ethic and curiosity allowed me to continue learning. So when it came to with SEO, I was consuming so many blogs, I was watching a lot of videos, I was going to conferences, I was reading and making mistakes, but the best way to learn is get your foot wet. And that's what I did. I went out there, got customers because I knew there was a need and demand. So I sold, I got some money from clients, and I'm very fortunate and lucky to have that skill set of sales, right, in my arsenal. So a lot of people are kind of fearful to do presentations and speaking. I basically am the opposite. So I basically come from that really confident. I feel and believe in a product. I'm going to go out and sell it. Then I have to figure out how to deploy it and figure out how to rank for customers. And I made a lot of mistakes early. I was trusting a lot of people that I shouldn't have. I learned a lot by making more mistakes. I didn't know what I didn't know. There's so many factors. And now I've developed a team that really focuses on all major pillars that SEO really encompasses, not just one. And that's what I thought, right? I thought it was simple. And that's where a lot of business owners might think it's simple as well. But to do it properly, to do it competitively in a very hyper competitive marketplace, you need to really put your best foot forward, right? So, and now I have a team of developers, graphic designers, link builders, content writers, just SEO strategists, consultants, everyone working together to collaborate to come up with a strategy in terms of what worked, doing audits of your competitor analysis, keyword research, and figuring out a solution and a roadmap to really slowly build more authority for websites. So it takes time, but now that we've been doing it for 8 years, we have a system, we have a process, we have a lot of frameworks in place that are best practices. And we have a pretty good track record now. So I'm very confident to say that I believe in our system. And if done right with the right people or agency or consultants, you will see a big lift in getting more leads for your business.
I love that you just started with this idea, you learned, and you just learned by doing and like hiring the right people. I just think that's a great lesson for entrepreneurs out there who have an idea and they don't know how to do it. But as you said, just jump in, get your feet wet, and start learning. So can you tell us actually what is SEO? I think we've been talking about it for a few minutes, but for those people who don't know, let's talk about what is SEO.
SEO is when you go on Google, which is a search engine, and I'm sure you, myself, when we're kind of in the phase of ready to buy or informational gathering, or I'm navigating to go to the newest restaurant nearby or store that you're looking to buy some product or service, you're gonna probably go on Google and you type in a keyword. It could be the best Chinese restaurant in whatever city you're in. At the top, usually there's paid ads, and business owners can actually pay to be at the top of the paid ad section of Google search engine results page. Below that is a map, and that's usually organic or naturally appearing, which is not paid. And below that, even further, is more listings of websites that are organic and natural in nature, which is not paid as well. So SEO is really focused on the map and below, which is the organic listings, natural, not paid. So what we do for businesses is help them become thought leaders or experts in that niche, in the industry, in the locale, for what they feel is their expertise, right? Like every business owner wants to become that expert plumber, restaurant, Chinese cuisine, dentist in their local market. And it is a big challenge, right? Like it doesn't happen overnight, and it takes years to really learn foundation how to run a business, let alone becoming that thought leader. And it means years in, right? As well as everything else. So we help them position themselves to become more visible for their customers who then will seek their service out.
Okay, that's important to know. So I was going to ask you, like, how long does it take to get into those top rankings for SEO?
Yeah.
So you're saying years.
So it all depends on how competitive the keyword that you want to rank for is. So most of my clients are the service-based B2B type clients, as well as product-based. But what you have to realize is there's probably people competing for the keyword terms that you want to compete for. How authoritative are they? What I mean by authoritative is how long have they been around? What have they been doing digitally? And are they experts or leaders in the space? Like, is that brand that you're competing with Amazon? And if it is, try not to compete with
Yeah,
them.
good luck.
Good luck. But I usually deal with, say, dentists, and I live in Toronto, and there's thousands of dentists. And everyone wants to do the same thing. Cleaning, maybe they got ortho braces, endodontist, root canal, all that stuff. But then you can really hyper focus on regional, even intersections, neighborhoods, and variations of keywords. So there's opportunities within that broad term keyword. And with that in mind, even on your products that you are launching, what are some of the keyword terms that your customers are typing in that may find you, right? Seek out your product and service. So there's a lot of tools. There's a lot of things that you can do to uncover that. And the biggest one I always tell people is if you already have an existing client base of paying customers, go and talk to them. If you have that avatar of your 10 best clients, go out, talk to them, have lunch, coffee, whatever it may be, with a whole list of questions on what was the thought process, the terms, your persona, right? Like create that profile of that customer and understand the whole journey of the buying process and go through every single trigger with terms and put that down in potential ways of your customers actually seeking out that product that you want to sell. And the more you do that, then you have a better idea of trying to rank with content on your website to position yourself as a leader. And these become more blog topics on your own website.
Got it. Amazing. So if they were going to, these product business owners were going to try to figure out which keywords, you think the best way to do that would be to talk to their customers to find out what they're searching for?
Yeah, so there's two folds. There's customer content, like the questionnaire, as well as their software online, right? What the search volume is and variation. So I would combine the two. So having a writer, if you're great at writing, to combine the both of them, but really focus on user intent, which are the real customers that actually are paying you.
And I know there's some software as well that you can look at, like SEMRush Moz, I think is another one. What would a product business owner do with those? Like, would you recommend that that's kind of something that they should use, or is it mainly for companies like you who would help them use these softwares?
Yeah, so software is really important to uncover gaps and opportunities and competitive analysis. So again, it depends on where you're at in your business and if you are technically sound in terms of like understanding how to use the product and deploy it and then do something with it, right? So yes, we use SEMrush, Ahrefs, Moz, right? Local, Keyword Tool IO. We have a lot of stack, right? In terms of like software, but we have a team that actually knows how to navigate and use it properly. With keywords, yeah, there's a lot. Like Google AdWords has keyword. Google Search Console has keyword variations. SEMrush gives you some ideas as competitors analysis. And most of these software are paid, right? Go with the paid tools because it gives you way more insight. Although, like if you have a WordPress website, you can download Yoast, right? Which is free. And it's a plugin that allows you to have more of a checking system to ensure that your title tag, your H1 tags are somewhat relevant in terms of that landing page. It goes through a checklist of ensuring that it's fully optimized on page. So internal linking, the depth and length of every single title, meta description, H1 content piece. So it gives you some sort of SEO boost, but that's 10 or 15% of the entire picture of a proper SEO campaign.
Okay, awesome. So if people are coming to you and they're saying, hey, how do I improve my SEO? What do you tell them? What do you do first? And like, how do you help them?
First thing I always ask customers is, do you have a business that actually has revenue. um, because do you know what you're in, and do you know those customers that you want to attract? Like, do you know what you want to be known as in the industry? That's something I always advise. Like, if you've been a dentist and you've been, trained for so many years, your reputation is on the line, right? You've probably worked as an apprentice, and then you worked, wanting to start your own clinic, and you invested a lot of time, money, and to become that expert. So the same thing with a product play. Is this an idea, or is it a real tangible product that you've sold before? And if it is a product that there's a market share for, it's now, what do you want to be known as in the industry that you're playing in? And understanding who you want to target, what is the value that you're bringing to the table, what is the problem you're solving to the customers, and really have that content piece in play, so that when you create that website, it speaks to your ideal customers. And everything that you put out there further is to support all the questions and problems that they have in the blogs or newsletters and anything else in the landing page. Because what Google's trying to do is match the customers, users, with the website that best fits them, right? Like, if you didn't have a good website that speaks to your ideal customer, then Google won't know who you are, what you do, and why they should serve you up on the first page. So really focus on that customer.
Okay, great. I think you said that you really got to focus on the customer and really match the content towards what they're looking for to help them find your site.
Building that website, right? Building the website is the next thing, because it's the biggest asset piece digitally today. Or I would say, even if you have a bricks and mortar store, people still do a lot of research online before they make an intent of making a phone call or order, right? Like, you have to be omni-channel, but also focus on your major asset piece, which is your website, and do it well. Like, have a very good visual presentation, understand your users and what kind of content do they want to absorb. Is it written, images, video, audio? Listen, right? Talk to your client and fill that gap. Let them in on what they want. And then, is reputation huge? Reviews? Is it third-party reviews? Is it affiliate sites? Is it understanding the behavior journey of it all to hit them with the message that they want at that stage of that journey is so important. So messaging, timing, and really being on point with just delivering everything you say you're going to deliver throughout the entire process.
Okay, cool. So a lot of this speaks to content, correct?
Yes. So that's early stages, right, of the SEO campaign.
Early stages. Sorry, what do you mean by that? Like,
when you first start a SEO campaign, we always focus on making sure the framework and foundation is set. So that's a website and content piece. Then comes the amplification and building your authority. Because if you're not positioned well in foundation wise, all that things that we're going to do afterwards is irrelevant because the foundation's not set.
Okay, so when it comes to foundation, what are their top mistakes people make?
Yeah, so there's no clarity for a lot of business owners on who they want to become, right? Known as. So I always tell people, like, business owners, if you wanted to retire, what is the thing you want to be known as? What's your legacy like, right? What's your beliefs or whatever? If you want to be positioned as that leader, what is it? And then work backwards, right? And then that's pretty much the foundation, right? Like, when you do that, you build everything to focus on that value prop of positioning yourself as that leader for that product or service. And then when that's done, you start building content, but then developers are good in terms of making sure the website's fast, it's secure, it's mobile friendly, responsive. It has all the schema markup as a sitemap, all the things that they need to do to ensure Google indexes the site with error-free. Then comes, how do you get it out there so that everyone knows that you exist? That's the marketing piece, right? And building yourself up. So huge component is trying to amplify your content, share it with as many people as possible, and also trying to get links from authoritative sites. And this is where backlinking happens.
Okay. So that would be sort of Could be done through guest posts or...
There's hundreds of strategies for that. Guest posting, forums, commenting, becoming a contributor for a lot of sites, sponsorship. There's a lot of even PR, right? Like anything to amplify your message if it's newsworthy, and positioning yourself as a leader. So if you are an author, do a book tour. If you're a speaker, go out there and make sure you're on that page of the association or conference that you're speaking at. All these matter in terms of the eyes of Google, right? Which is ultimately who you want to serve. And Google, all they can see is the website. All it is numbers and digits, right? And they're calling and indexing these websites all day long. So you need to be as prominent as possible, as visible, but it has to be industry specific. It has to be relevant to your product and service that you're launching. And if it's localized, then it has to be regional, maybe postal code specific, right? Or country specific. So looking at all the metrics matters. So these software allow you to kind of detect opportunities and competitive analysis. So that's the good thing with the software. But it's still very difficult to build relationships with business sites and guest posting and commenting and contributing. You can't just position yourself as an expert without knowing what you're talking about.
Of course. So for product business owners, because we're talking a lot about becoming an expert, I just want to make sure that for product business owners, would this strategy still make sense to guest post and things like that? What would you say for those businesses?
Yeah, so with products, I know you're maybe trying to brand yourself, right? And if you're branding yourself as a company, there has to be some values that you're bringing to the table. So what sets you apart to promote this product? And start pitching it, right? Like what are you bringing value to and differentiators, right? What's your unique selling proposition? And then in terms of products, there are a lot of different product comparison sites out there. There's tons of them. And there's open box video sites, right? And there's tons of review sites out there. So how do you get in front of the top 10 review sites out there, or competitors sites that always appear? Very similar to like if you look at directories, or people are always comparing. And I know this because I'm always looking for, okay, if I'm looking for a big purchase like a car, I'm always saying, okay, what are the top SUVs in 2021? And you go through this whole buying stage of, here, I'm going to do some fact finding, information gathering, check out some videos, checking out, it doesn't matter who it is. They're going to do through similar stages in terms of like information gadget, navigational, and that journey is similar. So you want to hit them and be present in as many avenues throughout that journey. So as a product, you want to, is it a pay to play to be mentioned in this review site, or can you earn it, right? Do you have to submit all the parameters that they want you to submit to become one of the top, right? Because it's not just, okay, throwing money at it. You actually have to be one of the top. What are their requirements? Is it revenue? Is it reviews? Is it, quality, service, whatever it may be? You need to understand what matters, because they've earned their right to be at the top of Google already. So leverage that versus try to play on your own website, because that may take a lot longer right off the bat. So you want to go early wins, but the long-term branded win, which is position yourself as a leader in that branded space category, it's a long-term play, but it will generate a lot more fruits and rewards because it's like an equity play. Once you're earning your visibility and it's free organic search results that you're getting, it's going to be like quality inbound leads that you're not expected, right? So it's always very rewarding when you earn it yourself.
For sure. So I'm hearing a couple things. One is like becoming a guest or getting on other people's websites, and another is also leveraging things like forums and top sites that are, I guess that's one thing actually. One is just getting on other people's websites and earning the right for people to search for you.
Exactly. And don't pitch, right? Like bring value to that website. And that's the one thing a lot of people are doing wrong. You have to understand the purpose of that website. And if your message actually compels with people that are reading that content on their website. So you're trying to position yourself as adding value and building a strong relationship with whoever you want to guest post or comment or forum post. Because if you're not bringing value to them and you're just pitching, then it's not really gonna do much for people who are reading that forum post, right?
Yeah, that's so important, especially when you hear about pitching for press. It's like not what you can get out of it, but it's what they can get out of you delivering that news story or what the audience can get out of it. Let's get into Google My Business because I know that it's supposed to help with SEO, which I've heard. But one question I get a lot is, okay, I've got an e-commerce business. I do it out of my home. I don't want to put my home address on Google My Business. What would you say to those types of businesses? Like, should they have Google My Business? How important is it for them?
So Google My Business is only for bricks and mortar and service-based type clients. If you have an e-commerce website, it's actually, you're not allowed to have a Google My Business page because the whole purpose of the Google My Business is directions, it's map, it's about people on the go, because that's the thing that appears right at the beginning of a Google search. Drive directions, call right now, order right now. So you have to understand why they created the Google My Business in the first place. It's about the map feature, trying to get to a restaurant or a coffee shop or your dentist. That makes sense. But if you're an e-com site, there's no map to be there, right? Like everything's digital. So that becomes more, the barriers are open to global. So the reason they want to restrict it is for the real businesses that actually spent a lot of money on, storefront rent, right? People that actually spent and deliver product or service within that region, if that makes sense.
Oh, totally. Because that was always a question, and everyone kind of says, "Oh, you've got to be on Google My Business," and you're saying it's no, it's for physical locations. So don't worry if you have an e-commerce store; it's not critical. I think
Yes,
that's
well,
that's
you
important.
can't, right? It's actually forbidden, I
Or
think.
forbidden. Okay, well there you go. There's your answer.
People will try to do things to get on there, but I would say stray away from it because you don't want to get de-indexed or be on the red list of
Oh
Google.
yeah. Right, right. Okay. And how about Google reviews? How important are Google reviews?
So Google reviews applies if you have a Google My Business listing. So if you think about reviews, anyone could write reviews on your own website, like testimonials you can upload because you own the website. Google reviews, Facebook reviews, comparison reviews, Yellow Pages reviews, Yelp reviews, all these are third-party reviews, and they actually have way more impact in the mindset of the users, because the users believe, like it's like 70% or something, that they trust third-party reviews more than trying to find it on a website, right? That says it itself. So when other people say it, they feel like, well, if they are like me, I'm gonna more likely try them because it was a positive experience, because that persona was triggered, like my buyer, like the whole behavior, right, of creating that avatar. So understanding how relevant and important it is to get good reputation online. There's software for that as well to monitor how many reviews, where you're getting reviews. My suggestion is try to diversify, but understand what is that niche that you're trying to compete in, and where are some of the top search results deriving from. Is it third-party review sites? Is it leveraging, say, the Amazons in the world or some platform that sells a lot of the products that you want to also sell in? Get more reviews on those sites, because if you already have tons of, leveraging the users that are actively going on those sites, yes, you may pay a fee, but that fee makes a ton of sense because the traffic amount that they get is ginormous, right? So you have to understand, like a lot of people understand third-party reviews and it's very hard to get. So have a system and process in place. So what are you doing after the sale and throughout the entire loyalty program, reward system? Don't forget that it's not just satisfying that customer, but how do you leverage the positive experience that customer had to amplify it so other people know that you did well, right? You took care of them.
Yeah, for sure. leveraging your existing customers, getting reviews. I wasn't sure if you could use Google reviews if you didn't have Google My Business. So that's a great point that you cannot. So we'll have to use reviews on your site, or I'm sure there's different apps as well. Now, how important is the type of website platform in driving SEO? For example, I've heard things like a WordPress site is much better than some other sites, or is a Shopify site better with SEO than other sites? Like, is it really important to have the right type of site?
So the sites are somewhat important depending on how competitive the landscape you're competing in. So because I deal with a lot of service based, the lawyers, the dentists, it's hyper competitive. So I always tell people own your site, build it from scratch, and get full access so that we can tweak and modify to compete at the highest level. But if you are a product and a brand and money it's a challenge, especially at the beginning of any venture. You can't charge what a lawyer charges, right? So you don't have that upfront startup fund available to invest tens of thousands of dollars, build it from scratch. So yes, leverage the Wix, Shopify, Joomla, Squarespace, whatever you feel confident. But there are plugins, there are their own SEO software. But if you have the ability to really maximize optimization, I always say build it from scratch. But again, it all depends on your funds, right, and where you're at in terms of your business.
Okay, so build a website from scratch, not using a platform.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely something that a lot of product entrepreneurs will strive to do. In the beginning, they are starting out with, SEO, Shopify, and some of the other platforms for sure.
It makes sense though, right? Like you're leveraging a platform that's completely easy to use for you to manage and try to develop in hard code, and it costs you more. And then you don't even know what they're doing. Like if you're very tech savvy, then yes, you can code, but it's a lot of time, right? It's play for Shopify, Wix, Squarespace.
Yeah, and then you've got to like update it all the time. So with Shopify or whatever, you get the updates. Now, let's get some of the acronyms straight because, we've heard about SEO. We also know there's SEM, PPC. What are these acronyms? How do they differ? And should you do both SEO and PPC or SEM?
So when I was at Yellow Pages, we sold a lot of search engine marketing packages and also pay-per-click. So pay-per-click is what it is Google Ads at the top. Whenever a user clicks on the ad, the business owner gets charged per click. You don't get charged for how many impressions you show up at. It's only when you click on it will you get charged. So it's very similar to, say, impressions on social media. So if you're on YouTube, there's a lot of views that happen, but you don't get charged on the actual view before 30 seconds. It's only after a certain amount of time do you get charged per click. So understanding the platform, understanding the terminology is very critical for the success of your ad campaign. So with SEO, it's more the natural appearing, building yourself up as a thought leader so that you can get unlimited amount of clicks. And there's a difference too. The type of client that clicks on an ad versus organic, the profile is different as well. And you have to understand what product and service you're trying to compete with and the type of lead that you want to get out of it. Usually when it becomes more of a higher ticket item, people want to be in control of their entire search behavior and they don't want to click on paid ads. But if you're competing on price and all it is an exact match keyword or a SKU number or whatever ID product SKU, right? They're going to just type that in and they're going to shop price, and who cares if it's an ad or not, right? They're just going to go shop on price. And do you want to position yourself on a price play in terms of competing, or do you want to really focus on all the unique selling propositions, value that you bring, quality, and all that other things? That's what makes a brand, right? Like, why does Nike sell high-end shoes at $200 a pop, right? It's the brand. So it takes time to establish that, but understanding that, being acknowledged on anyone could play the price game, but what do you ultimately want to become known as?
So are you advocating that the pay-per-click ads is not really, like if you were going to spend money, it would be more on improving your SEO rather than paying to play kind of thing?
So it all depends on where you're at in terms of the journey of your business. So if you're starting off and it is a product that you're pitching, the good thing about Google Ads and paid ads on social is you can track to the penny if it's working effective in terms of, is it even paying back? Like, what's my return on $100 paid ad campaign? Am I selling product? What's the profit that I come out of it? If I spend more, will I generate more profit? So it's really good in that sense, but you have to have a system in place to keep them coming back to you without paying for ads. And what I mean by that is, what does your funnel look like post purchase? So owning the email, making sure you have other supplementary accessories or products and other things that will generate some additional revenue, because you want the lifetime value of the customer versus just that product play. And then, if you do the SEO play, it's more about like positioning yourself long term. And I always look at your 5-10 year goal. Do you want to sell your brand? And that's more bigger picture versus when you're starting off, you don't know if this is a business yet. And that's where paid ads might matter and work for you, right? A lot of business owners will do a mixture because they're unsure as well. So it all depends on where you're at in your business.
Okay, cool. And will paying for ads also help your organic ranking? Does
No,
Google reward you?
there's no correlation. Again, Google doesn't tell you anything. And so we test, right? I jump in with paid because I do SEO, and then I try it and see if there's any improvement or not. Because the only way is to pay to play. Google doesn't tell you anything about anything. You have to figure out, because that's their top secret algo, right? And they're changing it all the time. So it's a never ending battle, and that keeps us on our toes, right? And that's why there's an industry for people like me.
Right. That's right. And how do you know if you're doing a good job? Is there some kind of ranking that you can look at?
Yeah, so for us, it all boils down to customers. If they feel movement, if they feel like they're getting more sales, calls, leads, transactions, the quality of leads. So been doing this for over 8 years. As much as we can track the entire behavior flow, going to your website, wait pages, how long are they converting or not? Even if they do all that and they don't convert, customers don't care. They care if it actually generates more real customer, like real revenue and sales and profit. So that's what really dictates what we do. We really focus on what ultimately businesses want, which is more profit or more sales and more revenue. And we really help them refine their target audience, refine their avatar, and really focus on bringing them quality, ready to buy customers that are their ideal, users, persona, avatars.
Okay, now if you were to give product businesses any further advice, say they have got a new product business and they want to improve their SEO, what would be, say, the top 3 things they need to do right now?
So at the beginning of any product business, I would say look at your competitors, right? And competitive analysis is huge. What are they doing well and what aren't they doing well? Is it price play? Like understanding the gaps. How do you position yourself? And then create a website to start optimizing to fill the gap. But I would also say learn from your real customers that are paying. Because if you don't have real customers yet, you're kind of going blindly. So the good thing with paid ads is you can have landing pages and you can A/B test everything with different messaging, different offers, different pricing, and it allows you to really have a better idea of how you want to position yourself and what kind of clients you want to target. So play around with ads early when you're kind of concrete with knowing what direction you want to go to. Then you build a website to really focus on building that brand. And then from there, it's about like all onboard marketing, right? To get the message out there. And there's so many different tactics and ways to get out there. But SEO is about positioning your authority, that brand, especially if you're a product play that has many accessories and different SKUs and different colors, shapes, size, and all this stuff. It's very hyper competitive. Products is not as easy as everyone thinks. Yes, the margins might be great on some larger ticket items, but it takes a lot longer to sell large ticket items. So what is the sweet spot, right? Play around with ads, play around with different databases, play around with different platforms, channels, marketing tactics, see what works and what doesn't. So there's no one size fit all for any product out there.
Okay, got it. That's awesome. And actually, before we sign off, I'm just going to say that if actually the audience cannot see this, but John is standing in front of 3 bookshelves full of books that some of them I recognize, some of them I haven't read yet, but these are amazing books. So, what would you say would be your top 3 business or marketing books that you could recommend?
For me, I run an agency, so it's all about depending on where you're at in terms of your journey. For me, one of them that I read last year was Ray Dalio's Work-Life Principle. It allowed me to get more clarity as like, what's the lifestyle I want to live and how do I want to transform my business, right? Like if I have a team, it allows me to get better as a leader. And what are the principles I have to follow value-wise? I'm big into marketing, so I read a lot in terms of like where I'm at in the stage, right? So right now I'm focused on community build to really harvest not just the courses, but really trying to cultivate more of my tribe. So reading a lot about that. I'm trying to harvest better TED Talk speaking. So I'm learning to become a better speaker. So I read about that.
Oh, nice. Okay, so what's a good community book and a speaking book?
So community, I'm actually, instead of books, I join like 10 communities.
Okay.
to really understand how it works. So I bought, I think it was Work Less by James Franco, Live More, the Work Less, Live More or something. And he has a community. So I went to join it. And it was about like just understanding the culture, the people that you want to surround yourself with. And then from there, I joined like 5 other ones and then another 5 to really understand what are the gaps that I'm missing and how do I want to transform my own community and play around, right? Like I'm going to make a lot of mistakes over the next couple of years, but I'm going to refine it and get better and hopefully improve and get better and make more mistakes. It's a whole growth mindset, right? And in terms of like the podcasting, I read like 3 books on how to become better in terms of podcasting, speaking as well. So if you want to improve on any aspect of your business, there's thought leaders out there, there's mentors, coaches, there's communities out there. You just have to be willing to put yourself out there to learn.
Love that. I can see you have a huge growth mindset, and I think that's so important for entrepreneurs. So I want to thank you for joining the show. I think everyone's learned so much, and I think everyone's going to be scrambling to work on their SEO after this. So where can everyone find you and connect with you?
So you can check out my website. It's called www.localseosearch.ca. So based in Toronto, Canada, but we service North America, UK, and Australia. And we also have a podcast, and it's a lot of fun, just like yours, Nicole. It's called Local SEO Today, but really it's all about tips and tricks on what we uncovered, because I was at Yellow Pages for 5 years, and my VP of sales was at Yellow Pages for over 30 plus years. So we combined work with tens of thousands of real business owners. And that's the insight that I bring to the table in this agency, because real life is different than taught, right? We want to learn from people that have already gone through what you intend and want to go through. And we have personal experience, and that's what we bring to the table, just honesty about just learning and hopefully inspiring others to become successful and try their best, right? And be okay with failure. And what does success really mean for a lot of people? Be real with it, right? Like it doesn't take a lot. So understand that it's okay to make mistakes and continue growing.
Right. That's so important. And I'm going to leave on that note. I love that. Thank you so much for joining us today. It was such a pleasure.
Thanks a lot, Nicole.
Thank you for listening to the Productpreneur Podcast. If you loved this episode, we'd be so grateful if you could take a sec to subscribe, share it, and review it on Apple Podcasts. Your review will help more women build their own dream product business. By the way, if you have any feedback, comments, or questions, email me at info@nicoledelarzac.com. Until next time, keep dreaming up those product ideas.